Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today we're going to be going over the top 10 modern Mafia vehicles in Grand Theft Auto Online. Now I've done quite a few videos on Mafia vehicles before, however some new ones have come out and I've kind of revised my list a little bit, so I figured it was time to make another video like this. So in order for a vehicle to be a Mafia car, I figure it's got to be something with probably 4 doors, so you and your associates can drive around to places and look good doing it. A lot of these vehicles are also going to have adequate trunk space for moving various things that you may or may not need to transport, and all of the vehicles on this list are going to be rather luxurious. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. We're going to start off with number 10. If you guys enjoyed this video, a like is of course appreciated. If not, dislike, subscribe if you're new. Let's hop in. To start off with, we have the Ubermacht Oracle. Now this is your budget-friendly option for this list, so if you're kind of new to GTA Online but you want to roll like you're in the mob, the Ubermacht Oracle is going to be a good car for you. This thing goes for $80,000, and for that price, it is a fantastic car. Now you can also steal these off of the street in true Mafia fashion if you choose to, so that's what I would recommend doing in order to get this thing. As you guys can see, it is a 4-door, so it is also a 4-seater. It's got a pretty big trunk as well, so you know you can fit some things in there that you may or may not need to transport, like I said. And the vehicle's performance for $80,000 is pretty damn good, I have to say. The Oracle is actually a car that I find myself driving in GTA Online, despite having, well, like lots of cars in the game, right? So I think that kind of speaks to how good the Oracle is as a vehicle. The Oracle is just a solid car. The performance is really good, it looks amazing, and I think it looks really, really good all blacked out like this. So the Oracle for $80,000 is definitely my 10th best choice for a Mafia vehicle. You guys should definitely look into this thing if you haven't already. With that being said, let's move on to number 9. Next up at number 9, we have the Dundreary Landstalker XL. The Landstalker XL goes for $1.3 million, and for that price you do get a really, really luxurious large SUV. So this is going to be a little bit better if you need to go to a remote location to drop some things off. Like, you never know what you're going to need to do as a Mafia member. So the Landstalker XL is going to be a great vehicle to go off-roading with to remote locations. Or if you need to transport anything. As you guys can see, it's got a roof rack. Obviously, it's got 4 doors, so it can seat 4 players. It's also got relatively decent performance for an SUV, and for $1.3 million, I mean, well, the price has gone up on Landstalkers, let's just say that, because the regular Landstalker, I think, goes for about 60. This one goes for 1.3 million. So, obviously, the added luxuriousness of it and the more modern version of it is, it's going to run for a markup, obviously. So the Landstalker XL, I mean, for $1.3 million, is it the best car you can get? No. Is it the best car on this list? No. But it is a cool one, and it definitely looks like it fits in with a Mafia family for sure. So I have to say that the Landstalker XL does deserve to be on this list, in my opinion at least. So that's it for the Landstalker XL at number 9. Let's move on to number 8. Next up at number 8, we have the Ubermacht Rebla GTS. Now the Rebla GTS is a very, very quick SUV. It is a little more on the expensive side. The Rebla GTS goes for $1.2 million, so it's a little bit cheaper than the Landstalker XL, and it does actually have better performance, hence it being a little bit higher up on this list. The Rebla GTS also has tons and tons of customization, so every Mafia member likes to customize and change up the look of their vehicle every once in a while, maybe to avoid the police, who knows, but you didn't hear that from me. The Rebla GTS is of course a 4-seater. Of course, it is also quite fast for an SUV, so running from the police, should you need to do that, obviously, which you shouldn't do, and I'm not advocating for, but if you needed to, you could do it pretty easily with this vehicle. It handles well, it looks extremely nice, it's very luxurious. It's definitely one of my favorite SUVs in all of Grand Theft Auto Online. It's got some good trunk space for dumping things, and that's really all you need to know. So let's move on to the next vehicle at number 7. Next up, we have the Benefactor Dubsta 2. Now the Benefactor Dubsta 2 is a vehicle that you cannot actually buy in Grand Theft Auto Online, but rather you have to find it. Now this vehicle can be a little bit challenging to find. Occasionally it does come into Simeon's dealership, so you can buy it there. It was there in the first week when Simeon's dealership was a thing, so stay on the lookout for it there. But other than that, you're gonna have to go and find this thing. Now I do have a few videos going over how to find the Dubsta 2, and if you're interested in knowing the differences between the Dubsta 1 and 2, I have videos going over that as well. Now because the Benefactor Dubsta 2 is a little bit rare, I feel like every Mafia member kind of likes to have something a little bit rare in their collection, and the Dubsta 2 fits the bill quite nicely. It is also a 4-door vehicle, and it is based off of the Mercedes G-Class, which is heavily used by the mob in real life. They're very luxurious cars, they're extremely good off-roaders, and the Dubsta 2 in Grand Theft Auto Online is no different. Except it's not that fast, but we'll ignore that for right now. The Dubsta 2 has extra customization options on top of the regular Dubsta 1, and it's also got quite a few subtle little differences. The Dubsta 2 is reasonably quick for what it is. You can steal this right off of the street, so it is easily accessible once you find one. That's pretty much all I have to say about the Dubsta 2. This is a great vehicle. Let's move on to number 6. Next up, we have the Lampadati Cinquemila, coming in at just over $1.7 million. Now you're probably thinking this car is a little bit steep in price. Well, yes, it absolutely is, but it does come with a few really notable features. The Lampadati Cinquemila is actually the fastest sedan in all of Grand Theft Auto Online in the sedans category, of course. Now there are sports cars that are technically sedans that are a little bit faster than this thing around a circuit, but as far as the actual sedans category goes, the Cinquemila dominates like no other car. On top of that, like all the other cars in this list, this Cinquemila is a 4-door as well, which means it is also a 4-seater. It's also got a reasonably sized trunk, and it is extremely fast, so running from the police will be no issue with this vehicle. The Cinquemila also sounds absolutely menacing. The Cinquemila is a fantastic car. I definitely recommend it. It's definitely one of my favorite sedans in all of Grand Theft Auto Online, not even just in the sedans category, but in general. So that's it for the Cinquemila. Let's move on to number 5. Next up at number 5, we have the Obey Omni ET that was added with the Criminal Enterprises DLC. This vehicle goes for $1.8 million and it is fully electric. So the Obey Omni ET has absolutely lightning quick acceleration because of course it is an electric vehicle, and because it's electric it's also completely silent, so nobody's gonna hear you coming should you do a drive-by shooting. Not that you would do this because everyone's innocent, but of course if you needed to, you can. The Obey Omni ET also offers very good armor protection because it is of course an Imani Tech vehicle. This means that you can equip this thing with a missile lock-on jammer, so should you be, ops with the military, you're going to be able to put up a bit of a fight with this thing. On top of that, it also has equipable armor, which makes it so it can take 12 rockets before it blows up, which is pretty damn good. Now, unfortunately, the windows are not bulletproof on this vehicle, but you're going to be going so fast that it's going to be pretty hard to shoot you out of it anyways. The Omni ET is truly one of my favorite cars that's been added into Grand Theft Auto Online recently. The Criminal Enterprises DLC, I do think that this is going to be one of the best cars from that entire DLC. So the Obey Omni ET for $1.8 million is an absolute steal in my opinion. This car is awesome. Pick this thing up if you guys don't have one already. It will make a fine addition to your Mafia car collection. Next up at number 4, we have the EST Jubilee, coming in at $1.6 million without the trade price and about $1.2 million with the trade price. Now the EST Jubilee is going to be for the highest ranking members of your Mafia. Obviously being based off of the Rolls-Royce Cullinan in real life, I'm sure there's at least one Mafia member who has one of these, and they definitely ride in the back seats of it. The EST Jubilee has relatively decent performance. It also has access to Imani Tech similar to the Obey Omni ET, only this thing cannot take nearly as many missiles. It can only take 4 with the armor upgrade, but it is equipable with front-mounted machine guns, and if you have the armor on, it has bullet-resistant windows, so you can protect your Mafia capo a little bit easier with this thing. The Jubilee is also extremely quick, one of the fastest SUVs in all of Grand Theft Auto Online, easily within the top 10. This thing is an absolute rocket. It looks fantastic, it seats 4 people. The trunk is relatively big, God forbid you need to put a body in there and get blood all over the stitching, but if you need to do it, it does have the room for it. So that's it for the EST Jubilee. At number 4, let's move on to number 3. Next up at number 3, we have the EST Deity. Now the EST Deity again is for some of the higher ranking members of your Mafia. This car is absolutely fantastic. It also has access to Imani Tech features like the front mounted machine guns that you can see me demonstrating right here. These are extremely powerful and do quite a bit of damage, so if there's anybody in front of you that you don't want to be in front of you anymore, you can take them out pretty quick. This car has decent straight line performance. The handling is a little bit on the weaker side, but it could be a lot worse, that is for sure. Again, with the armor upgrade on this, similar to the Jubilee, you do get bullet resistant windows and you can take up to 4 missiles. This car also gets access to an oil slick proximity mine dropper similar to the EST Jubilee and the Obey Omni EGT as well. Overall, the Deity does give a more luxurious ride than the Omni EGT in my opinion. However, the EGT does have some perks of its own. The Deity does also have lots of customization similar to the Rebla GTS, which is pretty nice. Of course, the Deity, like all the other cars, is a 4-door and the trunk does have enough space for at least one body. So that's it for the Deity at number 3. Let's move on to the second best modern Mafia vehicle in Grand Theft Auto Online. Next up at number 2, for $800,000, we have the Gallivanter Baller ST. Now the Baller ST is the best rendition of a Gallivanter Baller in all of Grand Theft Auto Online, with the most customization by far and the best performance by far. The Baller ST is what every Mafia needs. This vehicle is of course based off of a Range Rover, which is a very luxurious vehicle. Let's hope that it doesn't break down in the middle of a police chase, but who knows. This thing is really quick. It is within the top 10 fastest SUVs, similar to the EST Jubilee. However, I do feel like this thing looks a little bit better, in my opinion at least. I like the Jubilee's performance better, but the Gallivanter Baller ST definitely has some cool perks of its own, and I think that it would make for a great Mafia vehicle. As you guys can see, it is of course 4 doors like every other vehicle on the list, and it has a much bigger trunk than any of the cars we've mentioned previously, with the exception of the Stalker XL. The Baller ST is fantastic, it sounds great, it has good performance, it's quick in a straight line, it handles decently well. There's really nothing to dislike about this car, and I definitely recommend this thing over most of the other vehicles because it is a little bit cheaper, only costing $800,000. And many of you guys will have got this thing for free from the Christmas update, from when it was free for a week. So that's pretty much it for the Gallivanter Baller ST. Let's move on to the number 1 modern Mafia vehicle in all of Grand Theft Auto Online. And I'm sure many of you guys saw this coming. At number 1, we have the declassy Granger 3600 LX. Now the 3600 LX is one of the cheapest Omni Tech vehicles that you can get in the entire game. In fact, I think it is the cheapest, coming in at just over $1 million with the trade price unlocked. Now the Granger 3600 LX does not have the best performance overall. It's a decently quick vehicle and it does perform quite well off-road. And on-road, the handling is still quite good, it's just not that fast in a straight line. But that's not why you buy this car. Of course, like I mentioned, it does have Omni Tech capabilities, meaning that it can have a missile lock-on jammer, so if you're beefing with the military again, they will not be able to lock onto you with their jets. It also has an armor upgrade which will allow you to take 4 missiles or 4 explosives of any kind. On top of this, the Granger 3600 LX can also be equipped with front-mounted machine guns and a oil slick proximity mine dropper, as you guys can see right behind me here. This car is also a 4-seater like every other vehicle on the list, and it has a trunk as big as the Stalker XLs. As you guys can see, it's also got a handy dandy roof rack with a light bar on the front of it too, as well as a bull bar. So if you need to hit somebody out of the way, your car is going to take minimal damage, and you can store a bunch of stuff on the roof as well as in the massive trunk. The 3600 is the best vehicle on this list for dropping a body in a remote location and making sure that nobody ever sees it again. On top of that, it's also got a snorkel, so you can go underwater, except you actually can't, but just go with it. And of course, it's based off of a Chevy Suburban in real life, which is a very popular vehicle with both the Secret Service, the police, and of course, the Mafia. It's tried and true, and it truly is the best modern Mafia car in Grand Theft Auto Online, in my opinion at least. Which of course is correct. So there you have it, guys. Those are the top 10 modern Mafia vehicles in Grand Theft Auto Online. If you guys enjoyed this video, like I said at the start, a like is of course appreciated, if not dislike. Subscribe if you guys are new, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, take care. Peace.